Hey guys, happy Friday. We made it to Friday, isn't that cool? Always a good thing, right? All right, so we're in the pre-show. My name is Amy Bowser-Rollins, and I'd like to welcome you to Legal Tech Mastery. And I have a question for you today. Today's question is, what attributes does a good problem solver have in your mind when you think of somebody who's good at problem solving, including yourself? What attributes does that person have? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna make sure that I can see everything in the comments. Okay, cool. It's coming through. Kimberly says the Friday dance. I'm all about that, Kimberly. Thank you. One of the reasons I decided to have this show on Fridays is because in the legal industry, typically, aside from last-minute fires that attorneys tell you about, that they typically knew about for a week, but they just tell you on a Friday. Aside from those, Fridays in the legal industry tends to wind down a little bit, or at least we have the mindset that we wish it would wind down. So, and then I figured around lunchtime was a good time for both coasts. So today is a topic around problem-solving skills, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. When I find someone who's really good at this, I try to hold on to them. And if you remember, if you watched the episode 0, I shared with you the results of the survey that I gave you guys, and the number one thing that you asked me for topic-wise was professional development. So I decided after last week's tech-related show, that I would slide in a professional development topic this week. So problem solving. I've been told by a few people that when it comes to having a project and having a deadline that's pretty short, and there's a lot of pressure. I've been told by several people that I have this thing I do, which is that I kick it into gear. So apparently it's something I enjoy. So I also remember right at my last firm, when I left my last firm, I had been working on this one client's multi-matters for one client for almost 2.5 years, and I was working with this one partner, and I remember sitting in her office, and we were at the early stages, and we were planning, and it's going to be a big doc review and everything, and I remember telling her that this is my thing, I love big cases, I love white collar cases, and the bigger the better. This is my thing, and I really enjoy it. And she looked at me like I was crazy, and I get that a lot, but I really something in me just gets excited, and because I don't know, we'll talk about it today in terms of some of the characteristics that I might have. So let's see. Hey Jackie, you made it. Good. Critical thinking, objectivity. That's good. Sonia's coming in from Utah. Kathleen, this is a perfect show for you. And you're going to like, I think you're going to like something that I'm going to do today. Skills, logical thinking and pattern recognition. Absolutely. Dave/Gideon, persistence. Yep. Got that one in here too. So good, you guys. Those are good descriptions. Okay. So what we're going to do today is, okay, I have to let you know that I have dogs roaming around. And if I'm doing a show on Fridays, I probably shouldn't schedule deliveries on Fridays, and I've done it 2 weeks in a row. I'm not, thinking about the show when I click, purchase on Amazon. So there might be a delivery coming as well during the show, but, we'll roll with it. All right, so let's get this started, I can't even talk. That's not good. I have to be able to talk to do a show. All right, let's get this party started is what I was trying to say. Okay. Happy Friday! Welcome to the Legal Tech Mastery Show. My name is Amy Bowser-Rollins, and I am so excited to have you guys here. We actually have people here with me live, which I'm really excited about. And in the pre-show, we already asked a question, and that is, what attributes do you think a good problem solver has? So if you're just joining us at any point in time, go ahead and answer that question in the comments. Kimberly says, I think it is a sign of all those who are perfect in the litigation sector. We're all litigation, fill in the blank. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so before we get started, I want to, if you haven't watched episode 0, which I went over how this all works and, you know, the show format and then how you guys can interact, I want to, for this show in particular, I want to remind you of something. So this is a screenshot that I showed in episode 0. And if you're watching on the desktop, you can click for more, so that you're not just watching the video in the stream. In other words, it will open up a new window and it'll make the video bigger and it'll make it easier for you to see what's on the screen today. Okay. So if you're on desktop, go ahead and click for more. If you're on mobile, I usually just alternate the phone to landscape so that it zooms in on the video more. Okay, and the next thing I want to remind you about is after you click for more, and on mobile, this is there already, I want to remind you that Facebook has these things for live that are slightly different than Facebook in general, and that is Facebook reactions. So they're the same icons, but if you click for more and you get the bigger window, you actually have another set of icons down below the video to the right, and you can click on these things more than once. So at some point in the show, if I do something that you like, you can click the like or the heart or whatever. If I say something funny, click the funny, laughing. But you can click them more than once and send them across the screen, and that's pretty cool for engagement. The other thing I want to talk about is several people have asked how they can get notified, and I went over this in episode 0, so I want to go over it again. If you're already following my page, you can click the down arrow next to the word following, and you'll get this notification drop down. And on that drop down, you go down to the pencil for notifications, okay? And then you'll get a dialog box, and at the bottom of that dialog box is a section about live videos. So by default, you're just going to get notified in Facebook of suggested live videos. But if you really want to get notified every single time I go live, change it to that radio button for all live posts and then click done, okay? All right, so Facebook housekeeping we've handled that. Let me just refresh my screen over here. So I'm figuring out that I need 3 computers. Yeah, I need 3 computers. In the live streaming world, you're not supposed to do other applications. This aligns to e-discovery. So if you've worked at a service provider and you're processing data, you know that those machines are dedicated to what we want them to do. So we have dedicated machines for, extracting the data, and then we have dedicated machines for OCR, for instance. So in the live streaming world, I have a dedicated PC that I bought / modified with high-end parts, so that I could get the best I could for the live streaming. So that's the computer on my left. That's my live streaming PC. On my right is my MacBook, because I'm really a Mac person after all. The only thing that's holding me to Windows was some applications in litigation support e-discovery that only work on Windows. And then now live streaming has pulled me back into buying another PC. So I have my MacBook over here for comments, and then I have a third computer that I'm going to use today to show you stuff, and that's my Surface Pro. And I actually got the Surface Pro 4, it's been almost 2 years now, because it was Legal Tech 2 years ago that I attended a session, a panel of IT guys, you know, or I shouldn't say guys, because there was both male and female on the panel, but they were CIOs, CTOs, and they were talking about how they had rolled out Surface Pro 4s to attorneys, and they liked them. That was the main thing. They liked them. So I went out and bought one so I could experience that and see why the attorneys, you know, didn't really care for laptops, but all of a sudden they liked the Surface Pro 4. So I have 3 computers here, and let's just make sure, gotta always make sure. I noticed last week that there were comments coming in that my new application, which works pretty darn good, actually, it pulls in the data source, sort of like a database. I noticed afterwards that it missed 2 of my friends' comments, so that's not cool. Okay, so today's agenda. Around problem solving, we're going to talk about the mindset. We're going to talk about what strategic questions are. We're going to talk about the fact that you need to have some creative thinking. We're going to talk about some steps for problem solving, and then we're going to talk about critical thinking, which some of you have already mentioned in the comments, so yay for you. Before I get started, I want to ask you another question, which is, I mentioned earlier that in the pre-show that I actually enjoy the process of dealing with a tight deadline and solving a problem. You know, this needs to get done by this time. Let's, you know, we start with the outcome and then we count backwards, not count, but we go backwards and figure out how we can get it done. So to me, that's a process, and that's what I love to do. I love to set up processes or process workflows. So I'm wondering in the comments if you can let me know if any of you are visual thinkers. So when you have a project that you need to get done, and, you know, it's not just you have to, you know, bring people together. So it's a big project, short deadline, and you have to get it done. You're responsible for making sure it gets done. So when you think about that process of getting it done, do you map out that process in your mind? Do you think visually in terms of laying that out? Just let me know in the comments if that's the way you think about that. Because that's what I do. I immediately, as soon as I'm asked to get involved, I immediately start mapping it out in my mind. Another criteria or another topic I'm wondering about is, are you a person that struggles to make decisions? I have some friends like this. You know who you are. You know, if you're managing a project, if you're responsible for getting that project done, not only do you have to come up with how it's going to get done, and we're going to talk about things like that today, but if you can't make a decision, if you struggle to make decisions, at some point, at several points during the process, you have to, okay, let's make a call, you know, let's go from here. And, you know, you can always change your mind, not just for women, but for guys too. Everybody can change their mind. You know, something will happen and you go, okay, we got to redirect, we got to go this way. But if you can't make decisions, you're going to struggle in problem solving. Okay. The last point I have before I get started here is, this is something that I learned innately. I did it naturally. And, some of my coworkers have been, I guess upset with me might be the right term, because they ask for things. So say you have a project, you have a deadline to meet, and you think of a way to get it done, and you have to go ask people for things, right? So for me, before it gets to that heated moment where you have to ask for something, before that, months before that, you know, I nurture relationships around me. So if you nurture relationships with people in key positions, And when it comes time to needing something, you can leverage that relationship. That's a good one. And also you can barter. So you can, I'll do this for you, can you do me this favor? And when the next thing happens in this, I'll help you. So I'm curious of all of those things, if any of this is resonating with you. Are you a visual thinker? Do you struggle to make decisions? Let's own up to it right now. And do you leverage relationships? Are you good at nurturing relationships with coworkers or people in management positions, because you're going to go need to ask something of them in the future? I'm not talking about fake stuff. I'm talking about, being sincere and real. Okay. All right, so Kathleen says mind maps are always step one for me, helps you stay organized. Speaking of mind maps, Kathleen, okay, 2 more things I want to show you before I get to the mind map, Kathleen. All right, this is a quote from Vincent Peale. How you think about a problem is more important than the problem itself, so always think positively. And this is really hard for people sometimes when they're under the pressure of solving a problem. There's certain reactions that people have that just are built into them. So you always need to try and remember to think positively while you're trying to solve that problem. And another quote from Norman: positive thinking is how you think about a problem. Enthusiasm is how you feel about a problem. And the two together determine what you do about the problem. I love that. Because, like I said earlier, I actually get all giddy about this stuff. I mean, I have a huge pressure on me to accomplish a goal that the attorneys are asking me to do. And I get excited. Yeah, that's me. All right, so I am going to use a mind map today. Kathleen, yay, Kathleen, you'll be happy. Kimberly says she's good at making decisions. She's a problem solver and visual thinker, and she tries to nurture relationships, but sometimes gets stuck in her own world. That's great, Kimberly. It sounds like you're good at problem solving. Can you clarify what you mean about stuck in your own world? Okay, thank you. Okay. So this is going to be a test of doing live streaming with a mind map, okay? I teach with mind maps, but live streaming, dog alert. Harley, go lay down. Harley, no. Go lay down. Okay. I want to see, I need feedback after this, and I'm going to watch the recording, obviously, but I want to know if I can continue to use mind maps in live streaming, because that's how I teach. That's how I like to teach. So I'm sharing a mind map that I created for today's show, and I'm going to fiddle with the Zoom and the layout while I talk to you to make sure that hopefully you can see it all. Okay, so just give me feedback if I need to, zoom in a little better or whatever. I'm going to try to do that. But okay, so these are the topics of problem solving skills that we're going to discuss today. And the first one we're going to discuss is mindset. So let me move this over and let me zoom in just a tad. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to talk about in terms of mindset is attitude. Okay, so again, let me shift this over a little. Hopefully you can see that, especially if you clicked and made your screen a little bit bigger. Sonia says perfect on mobile. Oh, that's so good to hear, Sonia. Thank you for letting me know that. Because I watch a lot of shows on mobile, and it depends on what the person's doing. So keep me posted, Sonia. Let me know if I need to zoom in, okay? So attitude. Are you patient, meticulous, and careful? Patience, I don't have that virtue a lot. I learned how to be more patient after having kids. My kids are grown. There's a picture of my kids. But being meticulous and careful, I do tend to think that way. Okay? You have to have the attitude that this problem can be solved. You don't want to be a negative Nelly, okay? You have to at least go with the mindset that it can be solved, even if you're not the one to solve it and someone else is, later down the road, or it's not really solved in the time frame you'd want. But you have to have the attitude that it can be solved. Gideon, there's your persistent comment, so that's cool. Thanks, Kathleen, for letting me know it looks okay. And like I said earlier, if you don't solve it now, maybe you will next time. So this is an attitude mindset, okay? And then strive to find new, unique ways to enjoy the process. Now, that's something that I do innately. I'm always thinking outside the box, which, of course, you guys, I'm live streaming, okay? So my goal there was to try and figure out a new and unique way to interact with you guys, okay? So I'm succeeding, hopefully. Okay, so that's attitude. Beliefs. There's always a way to make things work. Allow for as many choices as possible. The more choices you have, the better off you're going to be at solving the problem. And then being curious. Curiosity is definitely a good thing. And curiosity is good. It's one thing that I always say if you want to go into litigation support. You have to be curious about technology in general. You have to be comfortable with being curious about it. Okay, so habits, deep probing, meticulous thinking, and peeling the layers off. So, looking at a problem where you have to go many layers down to be able to figure out what all the pieces are and then come up with a solution, okay? And then I think it was Kathleen that mentioned, was it Kathleen? Yep, pattern recognition. So recognizing patterns, similarities, and differences. Okay, those are habits of in the mindset area. So qualities of a person. Risk taker. So I actually put this on my resume. I put it on my resume because it was my boss gave me that feedback in an annual review one year. And I thought that was interesting. I am a risk taker, but I do it within my comfort zone. In other words, if I'm going to put my reputation out there, I want to make sure that I've done my homework. But then I put it on my resume, and this one guy that I interviewed with, an executive director at a law firm, was like, so, you have risk taker. What's that about? I thought it was a negative, but it's actually a positive. Enthusiastic, we've talked about. Adaptable and flexible, definitely. Open-minded. Yeah. Some people are not open-minded as they need to be when they're problem-solving. Proactive and non-conforming. So don't do it the way that it's always been done. And this is one of my favorites, learning from experience. Jude, can you refresh the screen for me? That might solve the blurriness. With live streaming, if you're a little bit behind, refreshing really helps with live streaming. So, Rahul, you like that one. I do too. Rahul, I'm so glad to see you here. Learning from everything I do is learning from experience, and everything in litigation support, when you come up with solutions to problems for a specific matter, for that case that you're working on, you learn every time. It's an iterative process. You do a little bit better next time on the next project because you learned so much on this project. Okay. What are strategic questions? What do I mean by that? So the first thing I want to say is don't stop asking questions. I get on people's nerves with this because I'm always asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. And I ask a lot of piecemeal questions, trying to put the pieces together in my mind, okay? Questions that, thanks Sonia for letting me know that mobile's still looking good. Questions that help alter your perspective. So you ask the question and it helps you get a different perspective about things. That's kind of what I do, regardless of the business world. I love doing that with people. Okay, so resourceful, optimistic, and solution-focused questions. So don't just ask questions for the sake of asking questions. Ask questions that are going to get you the answers, the type of answers that you're looking for. Okay, questions that help alter what to focus on, similar to perspective. And then the quality of the questions is critical. Let's give you some more information on that. Let me try zooming in a tad. Okay, so the quality of the questions determines what we gain access to. So that's an example I gave earlier. For me, if my coworker asks for this thing from a manager in another department and keeps getting a no, it might have something to do with their relationship, or the way the person posed the question, right? You have to be delicate. You have to be respectful. So the quality of your question can get you something that you need or not, okay? Also, the quality of your question can shape your ability and potential. Definitely. I mean, you can grow in your career by being good at asking quality questions, okay? Totally. And then, of course, it'll determine the overall success, okay? So the next thing you want to think about with strategic questions is the how and what questions, okay? So let me make sure you can see that. All right, how can I make this better? How can I think outside the box? What can I do to turn this around? So these are hows and whats, okay? What is the hidden opportunity that I'm not seeing? That takes a little bit more deep probing, right? And then what is the best solution? If you come up with, you brainstorm and come up with different ideas, you got to pick one. This comes back to the decision making. If I worked with an associate once on a document review that could not make his mind up, and he would make a decision one day and then he would let other people influence him the next day to change his mind, which is it drove me nuts because we were always, stopping and starting. Okay, so next area that a skill that you need to have is creative thinking. So when we think about creative thinking, we're thinking if you have a creative capacity, which I sort of do and sort of don't, is far reaching. Oh, good, Jude. So Jude is saying that the resolution, it was defaulting at a low resolution for him. And this is on Facebook. When I start streaming to YouTube in addition to Facebook, which I wasn't ready this week, I'm thinking about next week, baby steps, YouTube automatically does that better than Facebook. It'll change the resolution so that wherever we're coming from, whatever your bandwidth is, you'll get good results. Okay. Creative individuals shift, change, and expand and alter information in unique ways. That's pretty self-explanatory for having creativity. Again, creativity, if you come up with a creative solution, career advancement, definitely. People are going to notice, okay? Determines the quality of thinking and the idea generation. All right, so what are the characteristics of creative people? Possibility thinker. Amazon delivery. Dogs are barking. Okay. Possibility thinker, you set clear objectives and goals. You're courageous, sort of, being curious and using critical thinking and creative thinking, but also being courageous. Like I said earlier, if I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to put my reputation on the line. That takes courage, but I do my homework before I do that. Imaginative. I sort of have that, and then I just think I'm not really a creative person, but then I turn around and do something creative. So I think in the arts, I don't feel creative. Characteristics of creative people, they're dedicated, committed, and they believe in their ability. Now that has to do with a whole different area that I'm going to talk about in the future about, just having confidence in yourself. Because a lot of people that I help try to find jobs in litigation support. They just don't have the confidence, and then I have to explain to them that, hey, you can do this, and let me tell you why I think you can do this. All right, so let's go over to problem solving. Okay, so you're going to define the problem, you're going to highlight desired outcomes, you're going to brainstorm ideas, including possible drawbacks and benefits, and then I want you to take a step away. Have you ever done that? In the middle of trying to solve a problem, have you ever like done some of the work and then just walked away? I do that all the time. Sometimes you need your brain to rest, and maybe even if it's a nap, you know, if it's late at night and you just want to get a couple hours sleep. Or do you know some partners that take naps in their office for 20 minutes? I do. There's a benefit totally of refreshing your brain, just to, you know, you concentrate on it for a little bit and then you walk away and you come back and all of a sudden some idea pops in your head. Let me know if you are that kind of person, that you know that you should take a break and that it helps you, okay? Prioritize and evaluate potential solutions and possible obstacles. That's sort of same as drawbacks up above. And then you're going to start gathering resources and tools, right? Resources is people, places, and things. So for document review, I have to get computers. I have to figure out what software we're going to use. I have to get user logins. I have to get keys to the bathroom, you know, everything. If I'm going to have a whole team of document reviewers show up. And then create a plan of action, right? And then some people, once they start, they don't go back and monitor the progress. So you got to monitor the progress. And again, you're going to reflect on the process and learn from your experience, like we said earlier. All right, so last one is critical thinking. So this has to do with, it's also mindset-ish. It has to do with a state of mind. You have to be able to, I always say that somebody who's analytical and critical thinking, somebody who does that naturally, A, they're going to be good at litigation support, but B, they also sometimes don't have the creativity and the ability to think outside the box. They're too stringent, you know, so it's a fine line. Okay, so just the ability to consistently distinguish facts from opinions or ideas, from the ideas that came from assumptions. That's a touchy one there, right? So you're trying to solve a problem and you're making assumptions, or someone around you is making assumptions and feeding you that information, and then you're getting an idea from it. Be careful with that, okay? Your decisions will be more effective if you use critical thinking. Analytical, which is the next one, analyze information. And then what are some critical questions you can ask? What past experiences, oops, got to get it into frame for you guys. What past experiences could be useful? Like we said, each iterative project we're learning from what we did before. So every project that we do, go back and think about what you did, you know, pieces of what you did before that were successful. How can I look at the problem from a variety of different perspectives? To me, that's talking to different people in different roles. So if I present the problem, or I build a team of people that are brainstorming for solutions, or I come up with an idea that I think I might work, but there's somebody that's better at that skill set than I am, tapping into their knowledge is a good idea. What approach could I use to expand the possibilities? What possible changes could I make to solve this effectively? How is this related to ... So think about, you know, relationships to the problem. How can I justify this as the ideal and correct solution? That's where you have to be strong. You know, you have to be able to make decisions, but you also need to be able to justify what you have come up with to the powers that be. You know, so if you don't have all of the autonomy that you would prefer to have, you know, you might not, trying to zoom this out for you guys. you might not have the autonomy, and you have to go get permission to put your solution into place, right? Hopefully you have some autonomy. Hopefully you've built up some confidence from your attorneys. They have confidence in you. Let me switch back to me. So if you're a paralegal, lit support, associate, and you're trying to come up and with a solution to this problem, and the people around you know you, and they've worked with you for a few years, and they know that you come through for them, you come up with good ideas. That's always good if you've been at some place for a while, that people know that about you. Okay, let me make sure that I didn't miss any comments. Sonia says she's constantly learning. That's good. And Sonia agrees that stepping away is a good refresh. So that's good. Anybody else on stepping away? Let's see who else we have here. Lana, thanks for joining today. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the comments. That's cool. So hopefully you have forgot I need to get you guys the handout. So the handout today is the mind map. So I thought that would be, I know everybody wants a copy of everything, right? So let me paste that in. Okay, there you go. You might need to refresh to see that. So today's handout is just a copy of the mind map so that you can take it and rethink it a little bit and see if you can apply some of what we talked about today for your specific skill set, right? So if you want to be a better problem solver, think about some of the things that I talked about today. Ramesha's further reflection is always good. And actually, I use reflection exercises when I teach in the paralegal program. It works so well to give, students an assignment or to teach them something, and then come back around a few weeks later, and the assignment is just to reflect on what they've learned. Being able to articulate that in, in an assignment, to write, what their reflections are. And this also comes in, one piece of advice I always give people that I'm mentoring is, if you do a project like this and you solve a problem and you come up with a solution and, it goes well and everything, don't forget to go to that document that you have, wink, wink, and update your accomplishments for the year. The law firms, the wherever you work in the legal industry, your supervisor is not keeping track of that. You have to do it on your own behalf. So start a document at the beginning of the review year and put, accomplishments into it so that when you are asked to do your self-evaluation near review time, you remember what you did. Okay, so do it on the fly as you're doing it. Stepping away, Ricky says stepping away allows your unconscious mind to work on the problem. Very good point, Ricky. I should have said that. That's true. I mean, I have dreams about work stuff and wake up and go, oh, okay. Not sure if you meant dreams, but okay. All right. So that's all I have for you today. I'm trying to keep these around half an hour, so not taking up too much of your time. So let me know in the comments if you thought this was helpful, and go ahead and get your handout. And I will see you here next Friday at 12:50 Eastern Standard. Okay. Thank you.